All right, happy Tuesday, everyone. This is coming out to you fresh off the press with Dani Theo, Ifbb Pro Wellness figure
So,
competitor. Girl, we are so excited to have you on board. You're our little Aussie icon, and boy, do you have a journey to share with us today. For everyone that's watching this right now, what we want to say is that, Dani has been on a hell of a ride over the last few years. She is one of, the best wellness competitors in Australia. She's been overseas. She's had the feedback from the judges. She's tracking her journey, to continue her pro debut and one day, reach the Olympia. And in this process, one of the things that we want to bring to you is just, how real, raw, open, and imperfect this process has been. And I think sometimes as athletes or as people that are just starting to get into the show of competing, we forget that, we get confused, we can compare, we don't know where to look, we're not good enough. And you know what, there's no perfect journey, and you're going to hear some absolute bloopers today. We'll be showing some of these snippets throughout the week. And if you're listening to this right now, it is Saturday afternoon. So, Dani, girlfriend, we've been online so many times over the last year, and we've been trying to make this happen. Finally got it here. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
having me.
Awesome. So, girlfriend, let's talk about it. Let's get right into it, dive right in. How did you get started as a competitor in this sport?
Well, I was into the gym for years before I started competing. And I got introduced into bodybuilding through my ex-partner, Matt. You know him, you all know him. So
Yes.
that's how I started weightlifting and, started looking into my nutrition. I was a very skinny girl, very like a cardio bunny. And
No.
We've all been
Yeah.
there. We've all been there. No judgment.
Yes. So Matt started competing before I did, and then one day we just said, let's do a show together. And that was in 2018, I think. I started competing with a different federation. Did that for I think a couple of years. We competed overseas as well. And then as soon as wellness came into the pro league, I joined it. And did my first.
What made you go cardio bunny, compete bikini competitor, or what you chose to do?
I did bikini.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, back then we've all been into the days that we wanted to just be skinny and
Yeah.
high gap and all that. And
Yeah.
it started from that. I remember Matt actually came up to me when I was on the treadmill, and he started talking to me, like, you have a nice shape, you should stop doing so much cardio and things like that. So we started training together. We started seeing each other, obviously, and I started enjoying the changes that I was making, and the energy that I was having from not doing all that cardio, and from eating more. And I just started really loving training from hating it, and doing it just to be skinny to my goals. My whole mindset switched. When I did my first show, I won that first show, and I went into it with no expectations, obviously, and I won that. And then I was like, okay, well, let's do another one, and I won the next one too. And then I was like, maybe I'm better at that than one I thought.
Yeah. Hang on, I might have something here. Yeah.
Maybe I'm actually good at this.
Yeah. So, but it started as a hobby. It was just something.
Yeah.
While I had a full-time job, so it was pretty difficult at the start trying to manage it all. The more I started competing, and the more I started realizing that there is a bit of potential there. And when I did wellness for the first time, I just really started seeing it more seriously because I got my pro card. The first show I did with the pro league, so that's when I started seeing it a little bit more
Oh
serious.
my gosh. Yeah. So
What
you
was
were
that
like
like? Oh my God. What was that? Take us through that process, because that would have been, I imagine, mind-blowing. Like, to actually go into, you know, the league that leads to the Olympia, the highest level,
Yeah.
you know, and you go into a show and you win your pro card. Crazy.
Because it was all during COVID as well, you know, when
Yeah.
at the time those were canceled, they were it was just a mess. So we did a prep back then, and I remember that we even had a lockdown here in Melbourne, 12 days out of the show. So we weren't even sure if the show was going ahead.
I remember I was in Melbourne at the like I was living down there at the time.
We
Yeah.
went out of garage gyms, you know. I remember and proper, like it was a shit show. But at the time it really helped, you know, keeping my head right. Like I had a goal during lockdown. So yeah, I think like I believe in things happen for a reason, you know. So I always say that I would rather do something even if it doesn't work out. At least I know I gave it a go. So even in my head, show ended up being cancelled, I know that at least I would have been ready in case it didn't get cancelled, you know. So I went for it. Not many people went for it at the time, so I guess maybe the competition wasn't as high. I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy, and yeah, after that, I took a couple of years not a couple of years, a year and a half to grow a little bit more to be able to compete at a pro level. And yeah, that's where I am now.
You know, it's so amazing, isn't it? Like, you know, I think that was the second year they actually had run wellness as well. Like
Yeah.
you're the second ever wellness pro to be, you know, promoted from Australia, I think. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I
Yeah.
think the girl before you, or maybe a girl after you called Alicia or something like that.
Yeah, so it was Jacinta before me, then it was me, and then it was Alicia. Yeah.
Alicia, so you were the second one. And you know, as far as I know, you're the only wellness girl, correct me if I'm wrong again, that has actually gone overseas and competed.
I do think I'm pretty sure Jacinta did a show last year too, in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did one. Around the same time as me. But yeah.
Wow, there you go.
It's been a bit of a journey for me, even from the way it all started, you know, from moving to Australia to, you know, it's been a bit of a journey. So that's why when I hear people having excuses and or thinking that, oh, her life is easy because she's, you know, she just does what she loves. It's easy to do it when you work in a gym, right? But it's not how it started for me, you know. And I actually had a job, a full-time job. I was working for 60 hours a week for $13 an hour when I did my first show. And yeah, because I was still here on a tourist visa at the time, so it wasn't easy. But you know, you can do what
you do that 60 hours a week. I should say that I'm a mum, but you know, like but like 60 hours a week,
yeah.
$13 an hour, you know, like what's the sum? Like I don't know what's the sum of that in Australian standards? 13, this is before tax, times 60, $780 a week, right? Now, I don't know about you, but rent ain't cheap in Melbourne.
Oh God.
Right? You got rent, food, coaching, gym membership, bikini, federation fees, travel costs, like the whole lot.
That's why I'm saying, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. At the time, I was literally living paycheck by paycheck, you know, like I would calculate everything from the bikini expenses to my jewelry to my shoes to my posing coaching. Like it was not easy, but and obviously like I did it on a budget. I didn't do it the way I do it now, you know. But it can be done. Like
Yeah,
if you And that's why I was working such long hours, because I wanted to be able to afford that. Yeah, and I'd say no to other things so I can afford that, you know, and eventually things pay off. If you really work hard, you know, it pays off.
That's why you got your pro card. That's why you were rewarded, seriously. Like the determination and the grit and just this, you know, just the stress of even financially having to deal with that throughout a prep is, you know, I take my hat off to you. Like that's a really really strong mindset.
It's really interesting.
The hardest part wasn't it wasn't how much I was making. The hardest part was that I was working at a Greek bakery while I was
that's just torture. Oh God, you poor thing. How did you do that? Bread is my thing. I love bread.
But I'll tell you what, it made my next preps feel easy.
Oh my Lord.
Oh God.
But
I would have been in there like sniffing it. Like
I wouldn't be, I would have just been out the back and they'd be like, "Where are you, Rose?" And I'd be just have my face in a loaf of bread. Like, sorry guys, on the sniff test.
The bread roll fell into my mouth while I was reaching up to get one for the customer.
Why is there all these bite marks in this bread out the back?
Remember when I was getting close to the show, I was on pretty low food at the time, and I remember one day I was feeling lightheaded at work, and my boss at the time was an old Greek lady, and she goes to me, "Just eat a banana," and I got and she goes, "Just eat it and don't tell your coach."
Oh God,
it's like if only you knew.
Yeah, I can't. I really can't.
From my bloody lettuce, and you're telling me to eat my banana. Yeah. No, it was. I'll tell you what. Every show I've done has been like a point where I make some kind of change in my life. You know, it's like a realization for me. Like, after my first show, I left that job. You know, after the second show, like I can't remember. Like, there's always been changes after each show that I find some new strength in me. You know, after
it's
every
growth, you're growing, you're evolving, you have lessons, and and that's what I think that's the drug for us, isn't it? That's the addiction. It's the challenge of how far you push yourself, not physically as much as mentally, and how much you evolve, and you break that generational programming, you break the myisms of your belief systems and your programming, and you look back now, Dani, and you're like, holy moly, like I'm one of the best, if not the best, wellness coaches and posers in this country. And you're working with some incredible athletes at the moment, like Amy, who's up on the weekend as well. Jackie, who's recently been up there. I'm like, I have no idea how to pose wellness, and I've got, I think, a couple of my girls, Romana as well as Jacinta, with you. Well, and like what you've done with them in such a short space of time, you don't get at a university, because you've also taught them mindsets. You've taught them like the presence and how to create the right energy. And I see that in their check-ins each week. So you're looking back from being an immigrant from another country to working on $13 an hour, 60 hours a week. So you could, put your pennies together to do your first show, to now being an international wellness pro, and in that space.
Coaching, and the coaching and posing business as well. Like, and you're a forerunner for the wellness division here in Australia as well. How remarkable. Like,
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been, looking back, I always like looking back to where I started, and it gives me a bit of a, when I struggle, when I have a moment, especially during my preps, or start doubting myself, it's a very good way for me to snap out of it, looking back, and you can fucking do this, you can do it.
Exactly. And so now, like, you've got your pro card, and you were last year you went overseas and you competed in Prague and Romania, the Romania Fest, I think it was, and
Right.
Prague was first. And so I would love to hear your experience. I mean, I've competed overseas in other federations before, but not with the Pro League. That's something that Rose is doing this year at the Legions Fest, and I'm doing at the Triple O Dynasty next year. But you're already there, girlfriend. You're the experienced one there. You've been there. So I would love to hear, and I would love everyone to hear your journey, literally from leaving this country to what happened, from being on the plane to getting off at Prague to, not being able to get into the gym and train. Like, tell us your journey getting into that first show.
Look, obviously going to compete in different countries, you just never know what may come up. You just never know. Things just don't go as planned all the time unless you've been there before, or unless you know people there. It's just, you just go and you go like, okay, I'm just gonna go and see how, figure it out as I go. So I first went to Greece because that's where my family is. So I think I went about 10 days before the Prague show. I went to Greece to just, see my family, get some good vibe.
I remember that. I remember seeing you over there as well. It's like, there's a comp in Greece.
No way. But it was great to see my family. I feel like it helped me because I hadn't seen them since before COVID as well. And my mom ended up coming with me to Prague. But in Greece, especially the city my family lives in, there's not many bodybuilding gyms apart from one that I always go to, but I hadn't been there in like 3 years or so. So, obviously I've changed since they last saw me. And there's not many pro athletes there either. So, every day I'd go to the gym, I'd barely get any work done because
you'd be a freak show.
People don't let me train or just come talk. And, by the time I'd finish talking, I'd be like, I've barely got any energy left.
But you'd be depleting too. Yes.
Being social, I feel like, people, when they look up to you in some kind of way or they get inspired by you, that's also for me, it's very rewarding. I feel very satisfied being able to share my experiences and, like motivate people or inspire people. So I don't see that as a waste of time talking to people. Obviously, I need to be able to
manage
it,
moderate it.
But it was good. Then I flew to Prague with my mom, and my flight was delayed a couple hours. So I ended up getting to Prague late in the evening, and I wanted to get my shopping done, go to the gym, get my session in. So I had booked an Airbnb very close to a mall where there was a gym and shopping center and supermarkets. So I remember I had an hour and a half to train and get my groceries done. So I go to the gym all good. I'm like, okay, I got here. The gym was awesome. It was like really cool gym. So I said, can I get a casual, please? Blah, blah, blah. And they go to me, we don't do casuals. I'm like, okay, can I just get a week's whatever? Like, I can pay for a whole week. And they're like, we don't do weeks. You have to sign up and, pay up front or whatever, like do packages that we do. I was like, I'm literally just wanting to train tonight. Like, I just want to train tonight. And the guy goes to me, look, this is the policy. I can't do anything. I'm just a receptionist. I go, mate, I'm competing at a pro show in 2 days. Like, I've been traveling all day. I'm depleted. I need to train. I was getting serious. So I need to train, please.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I can't do anything. I'm sorry. I'm like, my mom was because she didn't want to let me, I said, Mom, go back there.
You're like, you don't want to see me like this, Mum. You don't want to see me like this.
I'm about to have a stage 10 meltdown. Yeah.
I was about to start, losing.
Yeah.
And I got him, look, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving this gym unless I train. because the closest gym to that area was like a 20-minute drive, and I'm in Prague. Like I don't know where the fuck I am, you know.
Yeah.
Most people in Prague don't speak English either, so it was a very bad experience when it came to communicating with people. But yeah, he ended up going to speak to the manager. He's like, "Do you have your pro card with you?" I'm like, "Sure, here it is." And as soon as I gave him a pro card, he's like, "Okay, you can go train, but you have to tag us." I'm like, "I'll tag you."
Oh, talk about you. See, hey, there you go.
But
There's a benefit. There's a benefit
You've
for
got
that.
to do what you've got to do to get in the door. Like,
I'm telling you, I wasn't gonna leave that gym that night.
I don't care what I have to do. I'm going in that door.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah. And the rest,
oh,
I'm gonna train.
she's got a pro card. No worries. Let her in.
Yes.
But yeah, I got my training done, got my shopping done, and the next day I remember going to the registrations and get my tan, my first coat of tan, and that's where I met all the other competitors, and that's where all the intimidation kind of stress started.
Oh,
I thought going into an international show, people would be like friendly and more professional, but females are females. So like most of them, I tried to give them a smile to kind of like break the ice a little bit, but they were all just very like, on the eyes on the prize, and
game mode, like game mode. Yeah.
like you could see we were all getting tan and like everyone would be eyeing each other off. It was very intimidating, and I'm naturally a very shy person, like, and especially when I'm in around crowd that I don't know or I'm not comfortable with. So I was just feeling like I'm like, fuck, I'm tiny next to these girls. Like,
okay, so they're
you
obviously
felt small. Oh,
I felt so small. I don't know if it was in my head or like there were some pretty big girls over there. But yeah, I started really doubting myself that night. I remember I had a panic attack, and I had like when I stress, I get really bad stomach aches. So
you felt bloated and stuff.
started going bad with my peak and my carb up. I started getting stomach aches. I couldn't stomach the food.
Yeah.
And I remember getting my tan, and I was like crawling like this because I couldn't stand straight. I had a stomach ache.
Oh, you poor thing. Oh my
And
God. I know that feeling. Oh my God. Stress does that to me too.
And
Oh,
you feel like, oh my God, I'm going to get watery.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you literally can't though. Your stomach is so like bound up that you just can't even. It's like I have to hold like, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and especially when you're been depleting for quite a few weeks, and then all of a sudden you're just eating a decent, like a big amount of food. It's all worse. Like your stomach just goes, "What the fuck are you doing to me?" But yeah, I think that's what went wrong with my peak. And it was more stress related.
Yeah.
And then the next day, show day, it was a circus. Like it wasn't very well organized backstage with the makeup and stuff. We all had times booked, but they weren't running with the actual bookings. They were just taking on whoever would go first. Remember, I was supposed to be, because that show, it wasn't all categories. So they started with wellness. We were first on stage.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to be on stage at 10 a.m. It's like 8:30. I haven't even started my makeup. So I go there, I'm like,
my God, my stress levels. Oh,
I was supposed to be doing my makeup at 7. And I go to the girls, I'm like, what's going on? I'm meant to be on stage soon. Like I have to go backstage, start pumping up, fix my tan. Anyway, I getting my makeup done, and then the promoter comes out and he goes, well, let's girls, you're meant to be backstage already. My makeup.
God.
I actually went with my makeup half done for the pre-judging.
Oh my God.
Well, I couldn't tell because I was watching that show live. I couldn't tell it was half done.
Well, now that you know, if you go and watch the pre-judging video,
I almost want to go.
you'll tell that my face is white. My
Like,
face
did you do
is
this?
white.
I think you had one like
Yeah,
you had
just
one
literally, like,
hair like over your face like that.
yeah, doing your quad turns like.
So like at the time, like running, I was literally running to make it backstage.
Oh
I
my
had
goodness.
fixed my tan from the night, from sitting on,
Yeah.
sitting on a
Oh
chair.
God. Oh.
I hadn't pumped up. I hadn't had the time to call my coach and see, if I need to eat anything else or anyway, I ran backstage. Luckily, they fixed my tan backstage. I had some time to quickly pump a little bit. So at the time in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not placing. I'm like it wasn't even an option in my head. I'm like, I haven't had time to do anything properly. I'm not placing. So we go on stage. We get the pro shows that do the quarter turns first. So we did the quarter turns,
Okay.
and I remember, how they place us at the back of the stage, and they call the first call outs. So they called me straight away for the first call out, but in my head I had convinced myself that I'm not placing, that I wasn't even walking, like I was just ignoring.
In your, you were disconnecting.
You
Like,
were
oh
so
God,
you were
terrible.
done. You're
I have
game
half a
over.
face.
Yeah.
I have half a face up here. I'm done.
Yep. I haven't pumped up, haven't carved up, got half
Yeah.
a face. My presentation's shit. I've checked out. Laters. Thanks for coming. I'm
Yeah.
going back home.
I think so. I remember they called my number like 3 or 4 times, and then I'm like, I think the girl next to me kind of poked me. So I'm like, oh, okay.
That's me.
Hilarious.
That's when I started gaining a little bit of confidence. I'm like, I was back in the game. I'm like, okay, I actually have a chance to place well. So that's when I really posing off. And luckily they did the quarter turns first, because if I had done my routine first, being as checked out as I was,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have, performed very well. But that gave me a bit of a boost in my confidence. And when we went for the routine round, I think I did pretty good.
You were doing lots of posing practice even before coming into this. Like it's for you, and this is it, isn't it? Like the posing is so important, and people underestimate it. And you do it for a living. You teach different categories and what have you. And you've worked with what's her name? Nat Kitney. Nat, you've worked with Nat before, and and learned a lot from her and what have you, and then evolved over time and having the experience overseas now. Like when it comes to like the way that the other girls pose as well overseas, like where do you reckon that they stack up in terms of where we are here in Australia?
I'll tell you what, I was actually pretty surprised the girls don't pose that well, even at the pro level.
Yeah.
As well, this is a new division. They still kind of, haven't nailed it yet. But I feel like, especially when it comes to Brazilians, I feel like they go over the top with posing, to the point that it starts looking a little bit cheap, in my opinion. Like it doesn't look classy or elegant. I personally don't like too much fluff with posing. I like letting the physique do the talking. That's what I say to every. If you overdo it, like you see the arms flowing everywhere, like the hair flicking everywhere, I just feel like it's almost like you're not confident enough in your physique that you're trying to really distract with your posing.
Like that. That's a really good point. Be confident in your physique that you don't need to zhuzh off everything else.
Also, I remember when I had spoken with Michael Buna.
I remember Bruno,
when I was competing here in Australia, and he said to me, the way we judge is not, we don't mark you up for the things we like. We mark you down for the things we don't like. And that stuck with me. So he said to me, the more you do, the more chances you have to get marked down. So keeping things simple, you give judges less, things to to mark you down for.
That's
That's a
so,
really
so, wasn't that good? That was a real
that's
good nugget of fucking wisdom.
yeah.
Really with my posing, because he said to me, you hit your good angles, be confident in them. You don't need to do too much, because the more you do, the more you get marked down for. And especially, especially when there's a lot of girls on stage. Like, think about it. We may be on stage for what? Like, for each quarter 10, a few seconds. If
Yeah.
the girls on stage, how much time do you think they give you between 10 girls for each quarter 10? The second they see something they don't like, they don't even look at you again.
Yeah.
They don't even, you're already placed on the side. So the more shit you do, the worst position you put yourself in.
And that's actually been standard right across the board. Even when we spoke to Sandy, and we've spoken to
Autumn.
Becky Clausen as well, who's had the opportunity of actually judging you as well, which we'll get into later. Is keep it simple. You've got 15 seconds. Don't spend 10 of those 15 seconds transitioning and doing fluffy stuff and magic fairy fingers and shit like that. So it's really valuable that you said that you get marked down on the things they don't want to see.
Yeah. So if you see the cards, when they show the cards, the marks of each competitor, the winners are the ones with the less marks. So the more marks you get,
the more things I didn't like.
The more things I didn't like.
Wow. Now I know how that works as well.
Yeah, just puts it right into perspective.
It really does.
It really does. That's such great basic information.
Yeah. And,
really good advice.
Obviously, hiring a coach is really important too, and having someone that's with you consistently, which is why I've got my girls with you now. They're like 30 weeks out of comp, or 26 weeks now, and they're in there, getting those sessions from you. But, being overseas, being on stage, having that experience, getting the first call out, you've done your quarter turns, you felt confident in your routine when you came back out. And that was the red bikini one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, red.
I remember just striking at the red lips. And I was like, boom. And so you come out, and how many judges were on the panel? Like, who was there judging you on the day?
I actually cannot remember. Like, I don't know how many. I can't even remember. When I watched the videos of my routine, I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that they had that song on, because I was like, when you're so nervous, you don't even.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know who the judges were. We had Steve Weinberg and
awesome.
And I can't remember the names of the other ones, but he was a head judge. So going into the show, I knew he was a head judge, and I know he's a judge at the Olympia. So to me, his judging really mattered. Placed me where he did, and I didn't expect it. I was very happy with the result. That's when I realized, okay, because I was really doubting myself up until that day. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for a pro stage yet. I don't know. I was just in my own head. Everything that happened with coaches and stuff and traveling, I was just not. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready.
It's so amazing, isn't it, Dani, that your first pro show overseas, you're getting judged by the Olympia head judge, like Weinberger himself. It doesn't get much better than that, like, he's done dozens of Olympias now and is an expert at what he does. And, obviously, you go to the show, I think, was it second you end up placing? At that show? Like, what the, like, in a lineup of X amount of girls, your first show in Prague, which was like a disaster for the first 48 hours. And despite that, you pulled out a Houdini, and, Weinberger and the rest of the team and the judges on there, gave you second place, which is incredible. For you. Wonderful.
Very surprised, because I knew I hadn't brought my best. I knew that was not my best. Going into the show, had all this stomach aches and stuff. I knew I woke up and I was not looking my best that day. And I had a couple of friends that I was talking to that are from the industry, and they told me, yeah, you're off today. You're not looking your best.
Yeah.
So I was looking my best, and that was already playing in my head. Then the makeup thing happened. But you know, sometimes things just happen where you don't expect them. So
So you did Prague, and then you were heading off to the Romania Fest. Did you have time to get any feedback from the judges at the Prague show?
I didn't get official feedback. I knew that the feedback they had given about me to people that I was talking to that knew them was to come in a little bit tighter through my midsection, which at the time, like I said to you before, I translated it as in coming in a little bit leaner. But you know, I think that if I didn't have any issues with my peak and wasn't holding fluid and stuff, that's what they meant, because I was a little bit, you know, a little bit watery and soft.
Yep.
But yeah, I ended up getting a lot leaner for Romania, which was only 2 weeks apart. And it wasn't, I'll tell you what, it wasn't as intentional to get that lean, but you know, when your body gets to a point where it starts eating itself up, you know.
Yeah,
so I remember
catabolic, yeah.
We were actually increasing food, but my body has just gone to that state where it was just, you know, I was dropping weight like this, like every single day. We ended up carbing up on 700 grams of carbs. Like that for me, I don't even need that much in my off season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not one of those people that get to eat a lot. Even in my off season, I won't go, like I'll be 2,500 calories, 2,700 calories. I don't eat a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So for me to get all that food down, and I wasn't feeling out. I had just gone to that state, you know, I was over dieting. And my body was just done, you know, it was done.
It was finished. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the time I could not see it. But
I remember the photos. I was like, damn, girl, like, you know, you'd flattened out, but you were like striated, you had lean.
Yeah.
So it was lean.
The leanest I've ever been, don't get me wrong, but it was not the look
that you wanted
for wellness. And I can see it now, like very clearly, like looking back at the photos, and it makes me want to cry. But at least, you know, that's how you learn what not to do next time, and how to get better and how to bring your best. So I feel like that those two shows, the things that I messed up with, you know, I can really use them to my benefit this time, you know, and hopefully bring my best this time.
Exactly. And you had like amazing feedback from Becky Clausen, I should say, Becky Clausen, who was the judge at the Romania Fest as well. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've had her on our podcast as well, and you needed to come in you needed to put on a little bit more size and come in a little bit more tighter, and you know, fill out a little bit more. Yeah.
I know, like I look at myself. I remember 5 weeks out, I was weighing about 61 kilos. All was in my head, from judging from what I was seeing and knowing what I need to bring for wellness, because I know the wellness look, you know, I've been studying the wellness look for the last 3 years. So I had in my head from the start of my prep, when I was with Troy, in my head, I knew I should be around 58, 59 kilos.
Yeah.
I started my prep at 72, I think. So I knew I'd need to drop a decent amount of weight. And I was around 61 when I changed coaches. I ended up in 5 weeks, I ended up going down to 53.7. So you can tell that's a lot of wasted.
There's a lot of muscle that's gone there. Yeah.
So I'm not blaming on anyone, obviously. It's just it is what it is. When you go to someone 3 weeks out, they don't know your body, they don't, you know, we just went too hard. That's what it is.
Yeah. And, you know, and one of the things as well now is you've been able to take, you know, you had a really fast start, very easy start to like this pro card, and then you had like this catastrophe, right? Like you had this I knew how I wanted to do pro debut. I know what I wanted to look like, and nothing went to plan, like nothing went to plan. But in that catastrophe, and in all of those challenges that you were faced, you chose to look at it in a way that was going to be able to mold this next chapter for you,
Of course. Yeah, of course.
And you've had the experience of being on stage, being judged against the best wellness girls in the world, who in my eyes are like Amazon girls. Like they must be decent over there, because I'll tell you what, on the pictures they look decent, right? And I've never met.
I've been looking at them going, oh my God, like they're bigger than I am. And then we actually had Sandy on. Remember we had Sandy on, Lisa, and she said, oh, because we were trying to get a gauge of like the differences between the categories and explain that to the listeners. And she was saying, she's like, look, with the figure, figure versus wellness, their legs are often bigger than the figure girls' legs. Not the same upper body, but the leg development, is really it's big.
It's extreme, for sure.
Well, that's the word she used too, Dani. So so you saw that too when you were over there as well, like
and I remember, like, I've never felt so intimidated, but it was such a good experience at the same time, because most of the girls I competed with in Prague especially were girls that I already knew from social media. They didn't know me, I knew them, because they're like big influencers as well. Like I remember especially the girl that won, and I think the girl that came fourth, they're all Brazilian girls, and the girl that came third as well, Spanish. I remember I've been following them for ages, and they have massive following, and they've been competing for years too. So knowing that I'd be up against them, that's already like intimidating in itself. But it was also really nice to meet them, and especially after the show was done, that the competitive kind of vibe is done, and over, and we all were a little bit more friendly with each other. We got to exchange our Instagrams and stuff, take photos together. And it was really nice. It was very nice to see that.
Who would you say was, one of those athletes that was your highlight to meet? One of your role models, if you were girl fanning, so to speak.
Highlight to me. Well, all of them, to be honest. Most of them, the ones I knew, at least the ones that were top 4 or 5, I knew them from social media. The girl that won was one of the girls that I knew she was gonna be like top 2 for sure, but yeah, it was more surprising to see the girls that started following me after that show, from the US, other well pros, and they started commenting under my posts, and I was like, okay, the fact that they're actually taking the time out of the day to comment under my post and compliment me, that just meant a lot to me in terms of they see something in me, you know what I mean?
I know, because I remember you went off to the Olympia as well with your team, and then you were like training with some girls over there, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's made friends over in the US. She hasn't even been there.
It was really nice to see. And I remember seeing what's her name, Barbara, I don't know if you know her. She was at the Olympia this year. I saw her training at the gym, and she came up to me and we said hi, and she said, oh, nice to meet you. And she's like, how you feeling? I'm like, yeah, good. I'm like, how you feeling? She goes, yeah, like, what, aren't you competing? I'm like, we're at the Olympia. No.
Oh, wow.
What a compliment.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not. I just came to watch you. But it was very like, it was very surprising to see that she even remembered me. You know what I mean? Like,
it's amazing.
Many people following them. I can't even imagine their inbox.
So you got to see firsthand the Olympia wellness girls on stage.
Yes.
I want to know, Are they as big as what they actually appear? Are they as jacked as what they actually appear? Like,
Yeah, they are.
They just like,
they're Amazon women.
Amazonian. I swear to God, it's just that's what I mean. Look, that's why it's become such a popular category, because it's just like these girls walk out and you're like, whoa, just like the proportions. Oh,
I just think because it's so new here in Australia, and I think we've got 4. Maybe this weekend we'll have a new pro as well. So
yeah.
it's very, like, it's only been a few years, like, so still trying to find our feet. We haven't had, and in Australia we don't have the opportunity to see what Olympians look like, like this, like in real life, but you've had that opportunity, so it's always good to get the experience and get the feedback as well from someone who's there, whether you're a judge or not.
It was good to see. I mean, most of them are pretty big. The ones that place better are not the biggest ones between them, but even the smallest ones out of them, they're still big. It's just a fine line, between I think what the look they go for is as big as possible, but before you get to the point that you don't look feminine anymore, you know. So they don't want that freak show kind of look. They do want like a cartoon-ish kind of physique, like
emphasized bottom half, really. Yeah.
So there's a lot of girls that are pretty big and they don't place very well. Because they're too big.
They're too big.
Yeah, like that girl that I told you before that I competed up against, that was her feedback. She was too big. And she placed, I think, in Prague, she placed 6th, I think. But next to her, like if you saw me next to her, you'd be like, I'd disappear next to her. You know what I mean? Huge. She's huge, but this is not the look they go for.
It's you can see, like, with the girls that have been on stage, and like, again, we're not there in real life. It's really hard to gauge, but they just look really full and round and big in that bottom half.
And conditioned. Like they're
very conditioned.
Like you look at Yarishna, right? When all her, like, I remember she was getting ready for one show and she was vascular, literally from her earlobes to her forehead to right down her body from tip to toe,
But Yarishna didn't place well because they told her she wasn't lean enough. So they do want them very lean. Yarishna from the back. But they're very lean. The only, like I said before, the only difference I'd say between figure and wellness is maybe there is like 1% difference in body fat, but I'd say wellness is closer to figure conditioning wise than it is to bikini.
100%.
You can see that.
The only difference is how they pick. That's what I think. With us, with wellness girls, we're meant to continue our lower body training till like show day, just to keep the legs full. Whereas you guys, you need the striations, you want the detail, you want all the inflammation gone.
So I think training 10 days out.
That makes so much sense because the difference, like, and even the difference that approach can make. Going into a show where you're training legs right up to a couple of days out, and you're
the day before.
the day before, like as you were saying, in the day before. And I've seen the pump ups backstage, like they're like really pumping those legs. We don't do that. We don't touch our legs. It's like you keep those legs,
we're sitting here literally with our legs up in the air.
We're doing that backstage.
Stop walking. I know.
I'm sorry, I can't go over there. I can't use my legs. Someone go get that for me.
Like back in the day when you used to wrap your legs up in plastic and deep heat so you'd sweat water out from it.
Water out.
It's completely. Sorry, I'm just grabbing my charger. That's why I'm moving.
I know you've got 10 minutes before you've got your coaching session on as well.
Oh, it's at 7:30.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, it's so good to get this feedback from you.
I mean, I think when it comes to peaking with wellness, it's just completely different. Completely different peak. I think even with the carb up, you see all these girls. They almost end up being from coming in very lean. They end up softening out, getting softer. You know,
reversing earlier almost. It's like, okay, we've hit the condition that we want. So it's like get extra condition and then come out. So interesting, isn't it? So condition wise, they look
the opposite to you guys when it comes to peak. It's
we can't get too lean too soon.
No, because then we risk
we only can peak once.
yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Like I said, I haven't nailed it yet. I haven't done it, but this is how we are planning on doing it this time. I want to be ready early, so I can start, filling out into the show and not get that stringy look again. I just want to fill out.
Well, there's nothing stringy about you now. I've seen your Instagram pics, and I was like, Holy Mary, Mother, and Joseph.
This is so
well, hopefully we maintain that. That's the goal. That's the goal.
All I keep saying is I'm like, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Like the whole way, there is like, you've definitely taken the feedback that you've had from, the best in the world, the best judges in the world. And no doubt as well, you staying in contact and communication with the right people that can support you and your journey along the way. And you've got a good team now. You've got your head together, you're balanced, and you're going to be moving forward. Are you thinking about this year season, like, they don't even have season B's overseas, it's just
I'm already in prep actually. I'm 12 and a half weeks out at the moment.
Get out, shut the front door. Love it.
So I haven't been very loud about it on socials. It's not like I'm hiding it. It's just, it just hasn't come up. I'm doing Chicago Pro, Tampa, and Texas. So really looking forward to that.
I cannot wait. So the Texas Pro, who's running that show?
I can have a look.
Have a look, because I know that we've got a few promoters that we're going to be chatting with over the next.
I'd love to do the Texas Pro because I'm obsessed with Texas. I'm
that's in August, so you've got time. It's in August. It's actually 17 weeks from now, I think.
Well, I'm her coach, and we are doing it. I'm doing her prep at the moment with her food and her posing, and we're focusing on a little bit more volumization. So we're going to bring a completely new look to stay that no one's seen yet, and given that she's 177 centimeters tall, it's
I was about
a lot of food.
You're a tall person.
She's very tall, and
we are super tall.
We are so surprised how much food her body is taking in and still getting at the moment. So
that's crazy.
So
I'll tell you now. I'm just looking at the I'm looking at the contracts. I hope they say it on the contract who the promoters are. So the way you're asking me about Texas,
or promoters, like the Texas one, who's running that one?
Texas one. Where is it? Texas.
I should know this.
Let us consult our phones.
Yes. Siri.
Siri, who's running Texas?
Promoter. Oh geez, it doesn't say on the actual contract.
I think it had it on.
I'm pretty sure I have the it says it on the calendar. Let me have a look at Ifbb Pro calendar. Okay.
New York Pro, Pittsburgh Pro. So it's before that.
No, it's after that. It's in August.
August.
It's the 19th of August.
you know, because the way that they set up their calendars, I've got Barry here in the background, is like they do the month before the dates, and I get confused.
Yeah, okay, I'm on to it now. Hold on, I'll find it. So this is Portugal, Chicago, Tampa, and then we've got Texas. There we are. So that is Freddie Nadu or something.
Nadu, okay.
And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
Sheila Brown or something.
Yeah. No, I was I know that Whitney puts on some shows as well, Whitney Jones, but I think that might be more Arizona based.
Mm.
I think
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Still Southern
then-
America. That's it.
Where
Tampa
I
is
say, "Oh."
Ghana.
Yeah, very exciting. I'm so excited for you. So this will put you like 5 pro shows in the space of like within 12 months, really.
Yeah. Well, hopefully one of those goes well. But I was thinking, yeah, they're big shows. I mean,
I might do a chicken dance down the street here if I hear your name getting called out as the winner of any one of those shows.
Oh God!
Oh my
It'll be
God.
like, I think I don't has there ever been a woman at the Olympia from Australia? I think it
I've
was
been trying to
Only
research.
in
There has-
bikini.
only in bikini. Yeah, I know there was
right.
a
Someone
couple.
made it for the bikini. Yeah,
But that was
Yeah.
also that was not from an international show though. Like it was from a pro show here in Australia.
Yeah.
that's right. And they got the that's
Oh,
right.
qualified.
But I'm pretty sure she did make it top 10, I think.
Yeah. I think she's the one with the blonde hair.
Yeah.
Gosh, she's got a really unique name, like Ashka or something like that. I can't think of what her name is.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. I think I know.
A tall girl.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, but there's been no wellness girl. So you'll be the first wellness girl from Australia in the history of Australia, potentially to actually make it to the Olympia stage. And Rose and I are like got our things crossed to try and do our best to come over this year.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
To come over to watch, like,
yeah, that would be amazing. So this is why I was thinking those shows are better than, because last year I did the end of the year. So
and I remember I was on the Instagram too. I said, go over, do the leadership or whatever it was.
But, so this time I'm thinking if they don't go well, if I can still afford it, I can still, do a couple more shows if I want to. But hopefully I won't have to. Hopefully, we'll see.
Let's look. I've got all my bits crossed for you. Even Barry over here does. Yeah. Right. And,
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We've been wanting to get around to doing this for such a long time, and you're a real little, unsung hero in this, in this country. And I believe that, and Rose does too, that you need to be highlighted.
Thank you.
It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when.
Oh, it's when. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Come back on here and talk to us again when you're an qualified wellness champion.
Don't forget us when you become famous.
Yeah, don't forget us.
I never forget where I come from. Let's get there first.
Let's get there first. I'll see who else is competing in that show as well. I'll speak to a couple of the people that we know overseas, because you know what? The Americans, and we've been interviewing a lot of them. Oh, here's Lucy. They are amazing, Dani. It's just a completely different experience backstage. Everyone loves hanging out with each other. Yes, it's on when you're on stage, but it's a really, like, this is just what I've been told in my experience, and everyone that we have brought onto this show that are all Olympians, every single one, every single girl we've had on this show has been an Olympian. Even Andrea Shaw last week, have all been really humble, really kind, just grateful to be, on
100%.
So,
I even to be at a pro stage, on a pro stage is something that I was pinching myself. I was telling myself, 2 years back, I wouldn't even have dreamt like of that, and being overseas, doing a pro show, being with all these athletes, I would have never even imagined being there. And that's why I think no winning wasn't as hurtful or disappointing as it would have been if I competed here, like where I used to compete. It was still an amazing experience, and I was just very grateful to even be able to, not many people can do that. Not many people can, from a financial point of view, from a health point of view. Not many people have the privilege to be able to do that, and this is why I feel when I see people complaining during prep, I just want to slap them. Don't do it if you're gonna be.
That's right.
We were speaking to Whitney Jones 2 weeks ago, and she's like, about being humble and being grateful. Barry's gonna annoy me now.
I was gonna say he's just literally been sitting beside you, like staring at you.
He's like,
Like
I'm hungry. I'm hungry, Mum. And we were speaking to like Whitney Jones, and she's like, I changed my head around. I don't have to go to the gym. I get to go to the gym. I don't have to do anything. I get to, eat a diet, and I get to train, and I get to pose, and I get to go overseas and compete. It changed the whole energy of it.
100%. I agree, totally agree. And I think for all of us that we went through COVID, and I think that should have taught us that lesson as well, when we couldn't do all those things that we were taking for granted every day. I think we should all see how lucky we are when we can actually do them, and when there's other people, like, I don't know, for me, another like thing that kind of a wake-up call, like last month I lost a very close friend to an accident, and it kind of like put so much into perspective, and even waking up every day and being able to do the things that I love doing, and when there's other people that they don't even have their health, or they're not even able to afford their basic stuff. I don't like when people complain. Like, it's a choice. No one put a gun to my head, to tell me to go prep or spend like an X amount of money going overseas to try to compete. It's my choice. No one forces me to do this.
And this is what makes you such an incredible athlete. It's the attitude. It's very common with all the top Olympians we've spoken to. You might not be an Olympian right now, but everything that you have spoken today that has come out of that mouth of yours is literally word for word with where those Olympians are at right now. And that you are an Olympian, you are a pro athlete before you step up on that stage, because I truly believe it's a mindset. It's a matter of state.
This. For sure. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, a good athlete, in my opinion, because we obviously, unless you get to the top level, you don't make anything out of competing, right? If anything, you spend. So like a good athlete is not only good when we win, when we place first, how we take loss, and how we handle not winning. That says a lot more about us as athletes and our love for the sport and competing, rather than when we win. We're all happy when we win,
Yeah.
And but again,
that's another statement. Right? Yeah, all the time,
But how do we act when we don't win? People, I can't stand, people that are sore losers, and they start blocking each other on social media, and I just can't stand it. It's just I don't understand it.
Well, small minds will do small things, and those people
For sure.
Don't end up having longevity in this sport.
Yeah.
like attracts like, and you know, also repels, you know, if you don't vibrate on that right energy and that right field. So
Of
everyone
course.
at that top level as an athlete on that Olympian stage have very similar qualities and very similar energies, because they get it and they understand it, and they got it and understood it well and truly before they actually step foot onto that stage.
Absolutely.
For
So
sure.
Dani,
Sure.
the next time that we have you on here, I've got my fingers crossed, my bits are crossed, everything's crossed. I want to be saying, oh, qualified, but either way, anything that you do moving forward is an absolute tremendous outcome for, you know, someone so,
Yeah.
you know, like yourself. You've got your whole future, you know, ahead of you now.
Yeah.
You know? So thank you so much for coming on board. We love you lots. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie the whole way.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
we'll speak to you again soon, hun.
Thanks for having me. It was a
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
Have a good night.